Oh man, Coinbase, one of the world's largest exchanges, has just been compromised. This is breaking news, literally hot off the press. You can see we had this tweet earlier, which I started to pay attention to, which said that Coinbase received some ransom demand for $20 million from a person claiming they have information and details of Coinbase users. I'm going to break down exactly what is going on. Should we panic? Do we need to be worried about this? And is there going to be a wider effect on the crypto market? If you like these live real-time updates, smash all the likes. Let's get straight into this one. We've got a response from Brian Armstrong as well, which I'm going to play to you. But first and foremost, let's try to understand what has happened. Cyber criminals bribed and recruited rogue overseas support agents to pull personal data on less than 1% of Coinbase monthly transacting users. No passwords, private keys or funds were exposed. Prime accounts are untouched. We will reimburse impacted users. And they've got a link to a blog post. Let's take a look at the blog post. What happened? Criminals targeted our customer support agents overseas. They used cash offers to convince a small group of insiders to copy data in our customer support tools for less than 1% of Coinbase monthly transacting users. The aim was to gather a customer list they could contact while pretending to be Coinbase, tricking people into handing over their crypto. So this is that classic scam, right, guys? Like, even with such basic data, which we take for granted, right? Sometimes maybe you take for granted the fact it's just your name and your email, let alone with your date of birth, with your social security number, with things like ID, things like your address. The scams can become a lot more convincing, putting you at risk, right? You've received those emails and phone calls before. They'll ring up, pretend to be Coinbase. Hey, I know that I'm speaking to Louis Smith. I know you live at so-and-so, zip code. And suddenly now you're trusting them. They're going to say something urgent, like, oh, we have reason to believe your account is under threat. Please, can you do this immediately and send me this 2-factor code, which I'm going to text you right now. Boom. And they send you the PIN. You send them the OTP and your funds are drained, right? These are the kind of attacks we're seeing. Now, like we've seen here on what they're saying here, private addresses haven't gone. I mean, that would just be a disaster, right? If your keys have gone and things like that, then your funds are getting drained, but then it would be Coinbase's responsibility to reimburse you from their reserves. But of course, that would create a wider contagion effect. What we're seeing here is we're not seeing that bit, right? So we can see that here. What they didn't get your login credentials or 2-factor codes. They didn't get private keys. They couldn't move customer funds. They didn't get access to the Coinbase Prime or the hot or cold wallets. Okay, fine. But they did get this stuff, right? They got your name, address, phone, and email. They got mass social security. They got bank account numbers. They got government ID images. They got your driving license. They got your passport, all that stuff you give for KYC. I know this could have been worse. I know they could have got all of this, but this is not a good look, guys. And for this to happen to, arguably the most cleanest image exchange we like to think of, right? Something that's listed in US, who's trying to follow all the laws and is publicly listed as well, and all this kind of stuff. It's not a cool look. It's not a cool look whatsoever. What are we doing about it? We're making customers whole. We will reimburse customers who were tricked into sending funds to the attacker due to social engineering attacks. Okay, so this is basically an admission that already these social engineering attacks has worked, right? People have sent their funds across and they have been affected, because otherwise what have they got to reimburse? Extra safeguards. Flagged accounts now require additional ID checks on large withdrawals and include mandatory scam awareness prompts as we monitor high-risk transactions. You may experience delays. Further securing support operations, opening a new support hub in the US and adding stronger security controls and monitoring across all locations. So I don't want to jump the gun here, but I'm going to play you the clip from Brian Armstrong as well. It seems like there's been a certain territory where the customer support agents are based. Maybe India is my guess. Again, I don't want to jump to conclusions here, but maybe this is something going on in that country which led to, Coinbase employees giving the data over for a bribe, which of course is not ethical. It's not a good look, and that's probably why Coinbase are now going to explore opening their major support in the US, hardening defenses, staying transparent. How is responding? £20 million reward fund. In fact, I'm going to play you the clip now from Brian Armstrong so you hear it from him directly. Listen to this.
Hey everyone, I want to make you aware of a disturbing email that we received recently at Coinbase. It was a ransom note demanding $20 million in Bitcoin in exchange for these attackers not releasing some information they claim to have obtained on our customers. Now, we like to do things transparently here at Coinbase, and so I'm going to respond publicly to these attackers by saying no. We are not going to pay your ransom. In fact, I have a few next steps in mind that I'm going to share at the end of this video. But for the rest of you watching, wondering what happened, we did an investigation here, and these attackers have been approaching our overseas customer support agents, looking for a weak link, someone who would accept a bribe in exchange for sharing some customer information with them. Now, our support tools have limited access to customer information. There was no passwords or private keys or funds accessed as part of this. But customer support agents do have access to personal information like name, date of birth, address, etc. And attackers still want access to this information because it allows them to conduct social engineering attacks where they can call our customers, impersonating Coinbase customer support, and try to trick them into sending their funds to the attacker. Now, unfortunately, they were able to find a few bad apples. Our systems are designed to mitigate the impact of something like this, so less than 1% of our monthly transacting users had their records accessed, but this is still unacceptable, and I want to tell you what we're doing about it. So first, any customers that were socially engineered as a result of this incident, we're going to reimburse them. There's more details on our website, on our blog post about the reimbursement process. You can read more there. Any customers who have been impacted by this or have been notified at this point. Number two, we're hardening our systems around customer support to make something like this much more difficult in the future. And third, we're actually relocating some of our customer support operations as a result of this. But the last step is maybe the most important, which is that instead of paying this $20 million ransom, we're turning it around. And we're putting out a $20 million award for any information leading to the arrest and conviction of these attackers. For these would-be extortionists or anyone seeking to harm Coinbase customers, know that we will prosecute you and bring you to justice. And now you have my answer.
Okay, so that's Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, responding pretty quickly to what is going on with the Coinbase exploit. Now, few things go through my mind. I mean, of course, it is not a good look at all for Coinbase, which has just gone through the whole SEC process and was hopefully gonna, be in a period of prosperity and grow their company, have now been exploited. Could it have been worse? Yes, it could have been much worse. Is it comparable to the Bybit $1.5 billion hack? Absolutely not, right? They're completely different things going on here, but it's not a good look. The thing with exchanges, and you guys know this, there are millions of exchanges out there, right? You're spoiled for choice about which exchange you want to use. The decision for users like you and I to find a good exchange to use is something which is trustworthy, right? Something which is transparent, something where, they follow good practice. And this is pretty much as shambolic as you get, right? The fact that a customer support agent can be bribed in their local community to give over customer data. Pretty poor. Now, is this the first company that's been exploited for private data? No. Is it going to be the last one? No. I mean, you guys will famously remember Sony with the PS5 data, right? Loads of PS5 data, users and email addresses and etc. got leaked. This stuff happens all the time. The problem, however, is crypto is such a big target. They get targeted at least a magnitude more than any other company because of the access to funds, the way they can get Bitcoin, the way they can get funds, and they can take it away, put it through a mixer, put it through privacy coins, and you're not going to track it, right? That's why crypto is always a major attack vector. But because of that, I expect more from the Coinbase team, right? I actually expect them to do a lot better than that. I mean, I'd expect this from maybe a tier 2 or tier 3 exchange, but for one of the biggest exchanges in the world, a publicly listed exchange with, shareholding and transparency and SEC stuff going on, like, it's quite bizarre, it's quite odd, and again, you'd expect better. Now, let's take the good points. Brian Armstrong's facing it head on. He's a very good leader, right? If you ask anybody in the know, he's a very good leader. He's not going to panic in this type of situation. He's going to be transparent. He's going to work through it. That's fine. The question is more, how did it happen? And it's a problem. Now, what's the actionable insight for us? Like I always say on this channel, guys, diversify your exchanges. Do not keep your life savings on exchanges. I cannot believe the number of people who are in crypto who have their life savings savings in an exchange. It should be on a hardware wallet, right? You should only have an exchange what you need to transact with or in the moment that you're transacting. That's it. It should not just be sitting there full time for you to, keep available for hackers and exploits. The other thing, diversify across exchanges. Any given exchange can be hacked. I think it's important to understand this, right? FTX, when you had that whole fraud going on, was one of the biggest exchanges in the world, right? Binance can get hacked. We saw with Bybit got hacked for $1.5 billion. We've seen issues with other exchanges. You've seen runs on other exchanges. Please do not think that your life savings are safe in any one given exchange. So if, for example, let's use round numbers, you've got 100K on exchanges and you've got much more, on your hardware wallets, your life savings, but you've got 100K on exchanges because that's what you want to use to trade or you need to buy stuff or whatever you're doing, that's fine. Don't keep the 100K on one exchange. Spread it out across a couple of exchanges. That way, if any one goes down, you're safe. And you guys know I've given you this advice throughout the bear market, and this type of advice becomes even more important in a bear market when these types of attacks and hacks increase in frequency. So there you go, guys. I just wanted to get that news out to you immediately. Follow me on Twitter for any live updates at ReallyJaz1. If you want to trade with me, you can do so in the Telegram community as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.